Hello guys and gals, it's your boy Mr. GreatStory with another Reddit type video. Today we have more real life ghost stories that will scare the living daylights out of you. So, let's jump straight into it. Disclaimer: it is believed to be a real incident, but no one knows the actual source or the real people involved in this. It just keeps passing from person to person in the form of tales and stories. It was a usual August night. The weather was roughly giving the signs of heavy rain. Around 11 p.m., it started drizzling. An auto driver was returning, after dropping the passenger, to his house. It was getting late, so he was in a hurry. He was tired, that's obvious after working for the whole day. Driving is not so easy after all. Even worse, if you don't get paid properly after working so hard. The passenger didn't pay him well for the ride, and the irony is that they should have paid him more because the driver had to cross the NH33, highway linking Jamshedpur to Ranchi, to reach the destination, that too on late night with such extreme weather. While thinking about all these pros and cons of his profession, he drove back home. Suddenly, out of nowhere, he saw a young girl in her early 20s, dressed in a full-sleeved white-red salwar kameez. It looked like she needed help. It was quite unusual for people to be at that road at that time, but it was none of the auto driver's concern. He was in no mood to take any more passenger at that time because of the weather and the approaching midnight. But thinking of the girl alone on the highway, as a human, he felt it was his duty to help her. He stopped his auto near the girl, and asked, "What are you doing so late on the highway, madam?" The girl seemed tense. She responded in a scared tone, "My car broke down and my cell is dead. I don't know what to do now. I have been waiting here for the past 15 minutes, but no one helped me. Please drop me at my house, please. I will pay double to your rate." Thinking of the girl and the price offered, he agreed. "Sit, I will drop you. Tell your address," the driver asked. "It's nearby. Sonari," she answered calmly. The driver, just out of curiosity, asked, "Madam, what are you doing so late at night at such a deserted place, that too alone?" The girl remained silent and started looking outside the window. The driver continued, "Madam, this highway is not safe, especially for a girl. You should be careful." The girl ignored his words and continued looking outside. The cold wind was blowing her long hair. She no longer seemed tensed, rather she was enjoying the weather, drive, and the city lights of Jamshedpur. After 15 to 16 minutes, they reached her house. The girl stepped out of the auto, and said, "Bhaiya, how much should I pay?" "Give me the genuine rate, Rs 300, the driver replied. "Oh. I have only 200 now, wait, I will bring from inside," she said nonchalantly. "Madam, it's getting too late. Please go and come fast," the man replied. The girl went inside the house. The man saw the clock, it was 11:58 p.m. The driver was waiting outside. He kept waiting, looking again and again at the door, but there was no sign of her. It became 12:15. He thought the girl has cheated him and she ran. Finally, he decided to go inside the house and inquire. He pressed the doorbell. Twice. An old man in his 60s opened the door. He said, "Yes, what do you want?" The driver explained, "Around 15 minutes back, I dropped a girl here. She didn't have cash, so she went inside the house to bring the money but didn't return. Please give me my money fast, I am getting late." The old man pointed his finger in the opposite direction and asked, "She is the girl, right?" The moment the driver looked towards the pointed direction, he became stunned, wordless. He didn't believe what he saw at that moment. There was a big portrait of the same girl, hung on the wall of the hall, with garland decorated on her frame. She was wearing the same red dress and looked exactly like the girl whom he dropped half an hour ago. The old man said, "Don't worry son, relax. She is my daughter. She passed away 21 years ago, in a car accident near the highway. Since then, this auto and lift incident has happened 5 to 6 times. I don't believe it, but the way drivers describe her, I have to pay them. I miss her." The driver remained dumbstruck. "I didn't know what to say." The driver said, "Leave it, sir, I don't want my money. I am sorry to disturb you. I have to go." He was scared as hell. The man insisted he take the money, but without listening to anything the driver started his auto and left the spot. Google Images. Thank you for reading. Kumar Sonu. I had a serious car accident in Dallas, struck from behind on the I-635 and I-35 Watts split. The car in front of me came to a dead stop, While the traffic was 8 lanes full of cars doing about 75 miles an hour, 4 lanes splitting off to the left, 4 lanes to the right, I was in the left lane of the one splitting to the right, and obviously, the car in front of me had erred and the driver decided to stop, back up, and go left instead of right. I slammed on my brakes and swerved left to the guardrail, that ends there, thinking I was going to die. I breathed relief when my car stopped, before going over the ledge and without hitting the stupid car in front of me which had since moved on. The next thing, I was waking up from unconsciousness and my entire car was destroyed, my head was turned looking straight up and the roof was crinkled. I thought, OMG, I've damaged my mother's car, as if I were a teenager. And passed out. It was not my mother's car, I was over 30, on my way to work in North Dallas. My mother was at work in Arlington. I woke up repeatedly seeing the same crinkled roof above me, and screaming crazy things, like "Where's Nicole? Where's my baby girl?" One time I woke up and a woman had gotten into my car, was sitting in the passenger seat, and she held my hand. She soothingly told me everything would be alright, and I felt such warmth from her. I passed out and woke up and saw her/felt her holding my hand a few times. I can describe her hair and face in detail. So, finally, one time when I woke up I was in an ambulance. It had 2 beds. I asked the man in the bed across from me what happened. He said he was behind me in an old Dodge Ram van and after I swerved he saw the stopped car and swerved, too, but didn't brake fast enough and he had hit me and crushed my car. He was shocked. He said, "I can't believe you are alive." I asked, "Where's that lady? I want to thank her." He replied, "What lady?" "The one who got in my car and sat with me and held my hand and told me everything was okay, told me my daughter, Nicole, was not with me, she was at school, she said Nicole's name, she said." He interrupted, "Lady, nobody got in your car, believe me, I was shocked when they pulled you out. When I went to see my car at the tow service yard that had removed it, it had been squished like a ball of aluminum between the van and the curved guardrail. It was an old Acura and the only place that was not squished up was where I was sitting. There was no passenger seat. It looked like somebody had cupped a huge hand over me and protected me. I don't know if she was a ghost, an angel, or my imagination, but she felt and sounded real and acted/made me feel like she knew me. I am not sure if this was an encounter with the paranormal or not, but it does freak me out. I was doing night duty during my residency at IMS. It was about 2 a.m. in the night and I was in the second floor ward. The lights were dimmed in the ward. The ward was divided into 2 cubicles. One of the cubicles was the ICU which had 4 beds. Everyone was sleeping and it was very quiet. There was one nurse and she had gone to another ward. I was sitting in the nursing station trying to complete patient notes in the case files. It was winter and was cold outside. I heard a shrill voice from the ICU, "Doctor, doctor, save me, save me." I got up and saw that the ICU was dimly lit. 3 of the 4 patients were on the ventilator and only one was conscious. He was a young man about 30 years old with blood cancer that had come back. There was no chance of him getting cured. I went to the ICU and saw him sweating profusely. I saw the look of terror on his face. He saw me and held my arms tightly. He said, "Doctor, don't go, stay here with me, don't make any noise." I quickly glanced at his vital parameters. His blood pressure and other vital signs were normal apart from a fast heart rate. He said, "They are coming," pointing towards the half-open window. "There are 4 of them, 2 boys and 2 girls. They are naked and drinking. They are calling me and asking me to join them. They are dead. I don't want to go with them. They are bad people. Please save me." I diagnosed that he was hallucinating and having delirium because of his brain being involved with cancer. Suddenly he caught my arms even more tightly. "They are standing next to you, don't move, they are very bad people." I looked around and said no one is around. Meanwhile, the ward sister had come and I asked her to sedate the patient. I told the patient, "See, I am going to close the window, everything will be fine." I went and closed the window and tightly locked it and told the sister to keep it locked. He settled down and went back to sleep. At 5 a.m. the ward sister called me that the patient had started bleeding. When I arrived the patient was profusely bleeding from the mouth. It was expected as he had terminal cancer. I started CPR but he could not be revived. As I stopped the CPR and declared him dead, I glanced towards the window. During the engineering education days, one of the seniors, let's call her X, committed suicide in the hostel due to some unknown reasons. I had never talked to her before but had seen her often in the mess or in the hostel as she was having a high dedication for God and religious activities, for example, fasting, etc. One evening while I was sleeping, I still remember a friend came and said, "Neha, get up, X committed suicide." A chill ran down my spine upon listening to what the friend had to say. My slumber went off instantaneously. I ran outside the room immediately to see what had actually happened. But all I could find was a sinister-like pin-drop silence that I'd never experienced, at least in the hostel until then. I bet I will never be able to forget that silence ever in the entire life. Also, I didn't sleep for the whole night out of fear. Now, obviously all girls were terrified to even roam around that corridor where X's room was located. Also, all the girls shifted their rooms from that corridor out of fear. Generally, I don't fear such things, but this time even I was skeptical while going through that corridor. I don't know why. Eventually, 1 year passed. I was in the 4th year of the engineering college. During our semester exams, we used to study till late at night. One night, around 3 a.m. my friend and I decided to take a bath as we both were exhausted by studying continuously. She went first. When she came back nearly after half an hour, it was my turn to go. While going towards the washroom, out of my propensity to look here and there while walking, my eyes went towards X's corridor. There I saw a hazy image of someone standing just in front of the X's room. It was dark there with no lights on, so I could not detect the face. I could just see a hazy image of a girl standing in a nightdress. I became skeptical about seeing it, but I didn't freak out as I convinced myself, saying, "She must be some girl from the hostel." The scene was something like this. But then I was also pondering, who can be that girl who is courageous enough to stand there at 3 a.m.? Soon, I ditched that thought and took a bath and then came to my room. In my room, my friend was sitting who went before me to the washroom. She said, "Neha, when I went washroom I saw a hazy image of a girl standing in front of the X's door. I don't know if it was real or was an illusion of my eyes." This time I was freaked out. As even I saw the same hazy image of a girl near that door. And, why the hell a girl would keep standing in that dim-lighted corridor, near X's door, that too for 1 hour? This was something that I would consider paranormal, as it was not just an illusion and definitely someone was standing there. Ghost? Well, I don't believe in it. But, I encountered something for which I have no explanation. My home is built in 3 parts. The first part is the porch where we have 4 rooms. The porch is constructed in such a way that moonlight directly comes through window and door, both in the same direction. The second part is the garden, which comes after the porch, which divides my home and porch. And the third part is my home, where my family sleeps at night. Whenever I visit my home, I take the responsibility of sleeping on the porch side where there is no washroom. And I am a bloody engineer who never sleeps before 2 a.m. On the left side of my home, there is an empty plot followed by the hospital, and the right side we have a neighbor. I was an engineering student then and visited home during vacation. At that time internet was not easily accessible, so I had no internet at home. The only thing which kept me entertained was my laptop full of Hollywood movies. I love darkness. After 9 p.m. I don't like bulbs or lights in my room. So, one night I was watching a movie and it was quite late when it ended. I looked at the time, it was approx 1 a.m. I decided to turn off my laptop and got up from the bed to turn on the light. The moment I kept my foot on the floor from the bed, I felt that I touched something which moved fast. I was sure that I touched it, which was not the floor. But, I was half asleep, so I ignored. Then suddenly, I heard the sound of a crying baby, which was coming from outside my room. That sound was crystal clear. Curiosity aroused because in our family there were only 6 members, my parents, grandparents, sister and I. 5 of them were sleeping in the third part of my house, so there wasn't any chance of a baby outside my room in the middle of the night. And I decided to turn on my room's light. I pressed the switch but there wasn't any electricity. Small town, big issues. That was the first time I felt something unusual, something paranormal. I moved towards my door and that sound stopped. I got some strength and opened the door of my room. As usual, there was nothing. It was a calm and peaceful night where moonlight was making that night more beautiful. I don't know whether I was half asleep. I ignored that sound and came back to my room, locked the door, and got back to the bed. And the moment I closed my eyes, the sound of a crying baby again started hitting my ears. I tried to sleep but that sound was unavoidable. Before I reached the door that sound stopped, again. The presence of something which was paranormal started giving me goosebumps. My heart was pumping fear, where my heavy breathing was giving me a signal of something unwanted outside there. But this time, I could see a shadow near my locked door which was moving. First time in my life, I was afraid of something which my mind was unable to decode. That shadow was moving from left to right, then right to left. And after a few minutes, it stopped right outside my door. But I had faith in my engineering. I wanted to decode this mystery applying all scientific logic. I decided to open that door, so I approached it while staring at that shadow. I was lightning fast and opened it, but again there was nothing. No one was there. But that was enough to make me tremble with fear. Sometimes, few things remain unexplained. Is this fiction? I don't know, I was half asleep. Was I hallucinating? Maybe because it was dark everywhere and I could barely see anything in the moonlight. But I can't forget that voice, shadow, and that peaceful night of fear. So, do I believe in ghosts? No, I don't. While writing this answer, it is past 12 at midnight and my room is full of darkness. My daughter died in 2010 at the tender age of 21. I miss her terribly and often wish I would dream of her, since I believe our loved ones visit us in our dreams. About 3 years after her death, I had only dreamed of her once or twice, and this made me very sad. In my grief-stricken mind, it felt as if she didn't want to visit me in my dreams. Of course, I knew this made no sense, but to a grieving mother, many things are overly sensitized and taken more personally than normal. Then one night, she did come to visit me. The dream was so real that I still wonder if it were really a dream or if it actually took place somehow. I woke to my daughter gently shaking me, as she often did in life for various reasons. She was wearing a beautiful, flowing white nightgown, her lovely blonde hair curling around her shoulders. She didn't speak at first, simply held her hand out for me. Of course I grabbed her hand and stood, hugging my precious child to me for all I was worth. She silently hugged me back, then led me down the hallway and up the stairs, where her bedroom had been when she was in her teens. At the top of the stairs, we both sat quietly for a few moments. I broke the silence by asking her a few questions about where she had gone, if she were happy, if she were okay. From that point on, we had a lovely conversation where she answered the questions that she could, telling me stories about how she had been learning to do things in the physical world, practicing tasks over and over until she mastered them. She spoke to me the way she always had, her sense of humor a bit dry, her sentences sprinkled with sarcasm and wit. I remember thinking, please God, don't ever let me wake up. Let me stay here with my baby forever. It was at that point I did awaken, wondering if I had really been asleep or not. So I'm not really sure if I had an encounter with my child's ghost, or just a lovely, comforting if a bittersweet dream. I don't care either way. I wish I could have dreams like that every time I go to sleep. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to let us know in the comments below. If you encounter any similar situation or heard similar stories, please share it with us. We want to hear about it. Subscribe for good karma.